How exactly is high-grade horror holding up in a cold comic book market? My last CGC submissions are about to help us find out. Welcome to the Paper Chase channel. My last two CGC submissions were maybe two of my most successful submissions personally to date. I hit the top of census. I got a book that is one of 5 in the world. And as much as I love my horror comics from my personal collection, I was still curious, how do these books hold up in a cold comic book market? So this video here today is going to be a bit of a recap. If you didn't catch the live unboxing, I'm going to show you what the grades were and then give you the market analysis of currently where these books stand in value. Let's dive in. All right, number 1, we have a Witching Hour number 37. This is a gorgeous Nick Cardy cover. These first 5 or 6 books we're actually going to get through pretty quick because there's not too much sales data on them, so we're going to kind of blow through them. But the big stuff at the end, I promise, is very nice. I try to get a 9.0 or higher in Bronze Age horror comics, if especially if I like the cover. But I thought this one here had a shot at it, and so currently on this book here, there is no sales data for this grade, but in November, a 9.6 did sell for $780. On to the next. Okay, next up, we have a Weird Mystery Tales number 20. This is a awesome Ernie Chan cover, Monster in the Attic. This is just so freaking cool. Again, try to get a 9.0 or higher on this. Pressed it and cleaned it myself. Got the 9.0. Very happy with this. Very little sales data on here. There has not been a high-grade copy sale of this book in the past decade. I really do think high-grade horror is going to continue to pick up steam, so I think some more of these are going to resurface, but so far there have not been many sales at all. There is a 9.4 currently on eBay, and they're asking $289. So 9.0 of this, maybe $100. I'm not even going to start counting it towards my total submission yet. Okay, number 3, we have House of Secrets issue number 112. This is a Luis Dominguez cover. Gorgeous book, so hard to get in high grade. Cleaned it, pressed it. This one I'm pretty sure I called on the live unboxing. I said 9.4. Exactly what it hit, 9.4. Extremely respectable grade for this book here, especially with that all-black cover. I mean, this book came out in 1973, and this is just absolutely gorgeous. So there currently is no recent sales in a 9.4 on this book, but a 9.6 sold in April for $288. I think it's safe to say that this is at least a $150 book. Okay, next up, Tomb of Dracula number 16. Important note here is the pricing for all these books, or the sales data that I'm using for all this, is Go Collect, and I just use what their fair market value is. They're typically pretty good with fair market values. They take data from different sites and they put it all together, and then they give you your FMV. So those are where these numbers are coming from. I got this off of a seller on eBay. I thought it definitely had a shot at hitting high grade. And, well, it did. 9.4 is what I got. Can't be mad at it. Was kind of hoping for a 9.6, but this is perfectly fine. It is a gorgeous cover. I believe it's Gil Kane. Yeah, Gil Kane and Tom Palmer cover. The series of books that came with this. So I bought a lot off of somebody off of eBay who was selling their Tomb of Dracula collection, and I realized how high grade that these books were. So I bought about 4 or 5 of them for a deal, and it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. You're going to see why a little bit later in this video, but this thing is just gorgeous. Next up, Baffling Mysteries issue number 23. This book here I got at a Comic-Con, or actually my buddy Darklaw got it for me at a Comic-Con. There's definitely something I missed on the inside of this book that dropped the grade to what it is, which is a 2.5. Still not a bad grade for a book that came out in 1954. So I think the grader's note said that the front cover was slightly detached at the bottom staple here. I looked at it through the case. You definitely can't tell on the case. So again, I think I missed something on the inside, and that was probably it. All right, next up we have Giant Size Chillers number 1. Amazing John Romita cover here. Love this thing. This is the first appearance of Lilith. Definitely a popular Bronze Age horror comic book. And this here I got from the same seller as the Tomb of Dracula 16. On the back, it had a very small tear with a crease on it, probably like an 1.5 inch crease. I was hoping I could pull out an 8.5, even though I have a book with a similar defect that hit an 8.0, and sure enough, this one completely followed suit, hit an 8.0. Which is great. You know, I mean, this is a good grade for this book. Is going to stay with me in the personal collection probably until I find a higher grade copy. I completely forgot to do the fair market value on this. Very little information on this. Not many graded copies of this sold. I don't think there are hardly any. The last raw copy sold that looks to be in worse condition than this sold for $111 on eBay. So that's our, we'll call this a $150 book. If you guys think that I'm off on my estimations for the books that don't have much data on them, you're free to comment below. Let me know what you guys think that some of the values might be for the ones that we're missing data on. Okay, next up we have Doctor Strange issue number 169, first Doctor Strange ongoing series. This is when Strange Tales switched over to Doctor Strange. So this here I picked up in a collection. It's on the channel. When I bought this, it was a probably 60-70% Doctor Strange collection. Acquired some great books in there. This was one of them. Initially, when I was buying the collection, I actually thought that this book was going to be a little bit lower. Kind of thinking like a 3.5 on this book. But then after I took it home, cleaned it, pressed it, I was thinking, oh, maybe we can get like a 4.5. And we got a 5.0. So happy with this. It does. I think maybe I was being a little hard on it. It presents gorgeously. A little bit of tanning and some stuff in the back. But yeah, looks great. And so this book here, the current fair market value is $220. We've got another pre-code horror book and another bondage cover. This is Tomb of Terror, issue number 3. Same purchase as the last pre-code horror book. I bought these books together. This one here I thought would be definitely in the lower grade, probably around a 3.0 range, and that's exactly what it got. So Tomb of Terror 3.0, really cool cover. Who did the art on this? This is Joe Certa, maybe? CGC label says Atomic Disaster Story and bondage cover. So this here, not too many sales on this book currently, but the last 2.0 sold for $300. I think it would be safe to say that this book would be a $375 book in a 3.0 to be conservative. Again, if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. There's one more book we don't have the fair market value, and I would like for your help. Again, in the comments, let me know of the data that's available. What can you scrounge up as a fair market value for one of these books? Because it's just so rare. Okay, next up we have Secrets of Sinister House, issue number 16. This book, this is a great buy. So I bought this book for $8 at one of my local comic shops. And took it home, had some light foxing in the background, very dirty in the back cover, but structurally was gorgeous. I cleaned it, I removed the foxing, steamed it, pressed it, did the whole nine. And again, if you haven't followed me on the channel or watched the live unboxing, I completely love cleaning and pressing books. One of my favorite things about this hobby is the revival of some of these books here, and it's just a whole lot of fun. So this is a book I bought for $8 when I got it. Maybe it was, I would say, an 8.5 with the dirtiness and foxing that it had going on with it. After a little TLC, got a 9.6. What an amazing grade for this book here. Again, another Nick Hardy cover. Really cool with just the skeleton riding the house. Just so awesome. So on this book here, the most recent sale, I believe, is in November of $384. And there's not a whole lot of these books in this grade that sell. So that would be the 90-day average, and probably the 1-year average for this book is $384. Bought it for $8, cleaned it for free, graded it for $22. Next up, when you combine Spider-Man, Gil Kane, and John Romita, you have just one of my favorite books to just look at of many books that I have here. We did have an incident with this book where I was trying to get a crease out, and I actually caused some staple indentions, some sunken staples because I put too much pressure. Always be careful if you're cleaning your books or pressing your books with a tack iron. Careful around the staples because you can cause micro little tiny tears in the staples. So I definitely took a little bit of a hit for that, but still happened to get a 9.2. I think I probably dropped it a grade. I think it probably would have been maybe a 9.4 if I wouldn't have caused a little bit of the sunken staple there. But I cleaned the hell out of this book, and this book's always kind of beat up every time I see it. Case in point, I went comic shopping today just for a little bit, and I found this copy of it right here, which is very beat. You can see it's got a missing piece in the corner. But I went to a Baton Rouge comic shop, and they sold this to me for $5. I was like, that's going in my reader copy box with my ASM run that I'm just been working on. So $5 for this, I think, is just amazing. Gotta love Ramita. All right, so one of my grails this year was a Tomb of Dracula #1, and I actually ended up getting one through a trade from a friend of the channel, Dark Claw, again. And maybe a week later, I ended up buying one off of a local seller trying to get rid of a collection. I didn't buy the collection, but I ended up buying a Tomb 1. So within a week, I obtained 2 Tomb of Dracula #1s. I did the whole treatment on both of these books of cleaning, steaming, and pressing. I did a little bit of page lightening to them with UV treatment and things like that. And 8.0 and 8.0. They both look fairly the same to me. I don't know if you guys can see a difference on camera. But this is the one I'm going to keep. This one has a small chip missing out the corner of it here. And I think this one's maybe a little bit brighter. So that's the one I'm going to keep. This one will be for sale. This one is staying. But the fair market value currently for this book in an 8.0 is $475. Getting into some really nice books here. We've got Batman issue 189. This is the first appearance of the Scarecrow in the Silver Age of comics. This book I got in a collection that I think I have a video on the channel called The Best Comic Collection That I've Ever Bought. It still is. This comic collection total I bought for $750, and this collection has already 10 times overpaid for itself, and the books that are the most valuable from it are still in my possession. This is just one of them. So this book here I knew was high grade. The only thing really wrong with it were a couple of creases on the corner and a little bit of silverfish chew. I'm sorry, this corner. But anyway, I was expecting a very high grade book here. And this is a awesome Infantino cover who also did Batman 181, first appearance of Poison Ivy. And we got 7.0. And this is an extremely respectable grade for Batman's Rogue Gallery. All these books are just anything like really in a 5.5, 6 or higher is just a win. Well, it's all a win if you can get any of them or find any of them. But if you can get them in super high grade, I mean, that's kind of the benchmark for a lot of people is 5.5 or higher. So the current fair market value for this comic here at the date of this recording is $875. Whew. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, so the next book may not be, it's valuable for sure. But even though it's not the most valuable book, might be my favorite personal book in this collection because of the accomplishment behind it, and it's also my favorite cover art in this entire submission. The next book is House of Secrets, issue 100. This is a absolutely stunning Bernie Wrightson cover. Okay, so the story behind this book was an eBay purchase. They had like 3 copies on their eBay page, and this one here had stains on the back of it. And they had it noted as, other than the stains, the book was flawless. They had it graded at, I think, about a 7.5 or a 7.0 with the stains. And I knew that if I could get those stains out, that this book would be... it'd be a pretty major book. So I got the book, performed the treatment on it, got the stains out. In doing that, there was a little bit of an adverse effect where there was some gloss loss on the back. So, you know, the stain came out, but we did have a little bit of a gloss lossage on the back. Some of these bigger rewards require bigger risk. You've just got to be smart enough to know when to take them and when to stop. So anyway, with all that being said, the stain's gone. A little bit of the gloss came off. And this book got an astounding 9.6. This is just unbelievably gorgeous. A hell of an accomplishment. Current fair market value for a 9.6 is $1,020. With Bernie Wrightson's appreciation and popularity just continuing to go on higher and higher as years go by. It's also a great investment book for comic books, and especially horror comic books. Super proud of this book. It is staying with me until it can't anymore. I actually went back and checked eBay. I thought I spent like $110 on this book. I paid $65 for this book. Cleaned it, steamed it, stain removed it, and pressed it for free. And now it's just wild. Okay, 2 more left. This one here, well, you saw that in the intro, right? Tomb of Dracula number 5 in a 9.8. This book here, I knew it had a shot at this grade. I knew it did. And red is just as hard to get in high grade as black is. This book is a Gil Kane cover. Was published in 1972 and is felt like it came off the printer press the day that I pressed it and cleaned it. This book was on a different level of quality, and it was just amazing. I bought this again from eBay with the other Tomb of Dracula books. So I was so meticulous about this book that I pressed it about 7 times before I actually sent it out to CGC. One thing I also did in this submission here that was very successful with grade-wise was I really emphasized cold pressing. So if you're not familiar with what cold pressing is after you heat press a book. One of the setbacks is that those defects can revert. They can basically come back. One way to try to mitigate that is you cold press it. So you basically just put the book flat underneath weight for as long as you can, really. I think this book sat underneath a cold press for probably 2 weeks. The value of it, we don't know, because there's only 5 of these in the world, and no 9.8 has ever sold, ever. So it does look like a 9.6 did sell, I think, for almost $400 this year. But when it comes to Bronze Age horror books, especially something printed in 1972, you know, the jump from 9.6 to 9.8 is astounding. So it's not like it would double. I think a conservative bet on the value of this book would be $1,000. And that is the extremely conservative value that I'm putting on this book is $1,000. I probably could break the $2,000 mark because there's literally only 5 in the world and just impossible to get in high grade. If you were to go look for this book on eBay, every single raw copy that I've come across is just completely battered and is maybe an 8.5 at the highest I've seen. So this is completely gorgeous, staying in the personal collection because I love it, because it's a great investment book. Comment below what you guys think maybe the fair market value of this book could be. And last but not least, we have one more Tomb of Dracula, another gorgeous Gil Kane cover here. This is Tomb of Dracula issue number 18. This thing was one of the nicest copies of any book I've ever held in my hand. So this book here was printed in 1974. Bought it with the other high-grade Tomb of Dracula books on eBay. I probably spent, if you were to factor in what the cost was for all the books, I probably spent $110 on this book. So this book I knew had a shot at hitting a 9.8, but it did have one very small spine tick at the very bottom corner here. I don't even know if that's going to show up on camera or not. So I tried to lower my expectations on this to, you know, don't be surprised if it's a 9.6 because it does have a spine tick. All that being said, got the 9.8. The satisfaction I get from a high-grade horror book is just amazing, especially. So that is where high-grade horror is standing right now in this cold comic book market. I definitely think high-grade horror is one of the more deserved books that saw a shot up in the comic boom unbelievably happy with the submission. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below of, this submission. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do any of you have any high-grade horror comics in your collection? If you do, what are they? I'd love to know. Thank you again for watching and for your time. Hit like on the way out. See you on the next page.